Okay, Gold Derby fans, welcome to our final Emmy predictions slugfest for 2023, but we're doing it in 2024 because the strikes happened and postponed the show. This will be our last minute predictions, any changes we've made after the creative arts. I'm Marcus James Dixon. I'm here with Ray Richmond, Denton Davidson, and Daniel Montgomery. And I kind of want to start with the creative arts totals because we had some big winners this weekend. The Last of Us got 8 wins, followed by Welcome to Wrexham, 5 wins. And then these shows all got 4. The Bear, still a Michael J. Fox movie, Wednesday, and The White Lotus. Beef is next with 3. And in case you're wondering, Ted Lasso did get 2. So there's some Succession got 0, which is interesting. So let's start with Ray. Do you think these creative arts wins, specifically, let's start with drama. Last of Us gets 8, Succession gets 0. Does that change your opinion of what's going to happen on Monday night at the primetime ceremony?
Not necessarily, but I wanted to share, it feels like we've been talking about the Emmys most of our adult lives. And I just wanted to share the screen for 1 second and uh, share something that will give you an idea of how long this has gone on. Uh, Check out, that is what I looked like when the Emmy race began.
Wow.
This is how long it's been. So, um, anyway, to answer your question, Marcus, that does not necessarily change the way I view the races. I feel like a lot of the things that have gained momentum in TV that we've seen now in the at the Globes and in the SAG nominations, reflect the way momentum shifts, and that brings us back to the fact that things like Ted Lasso are not yesterday's news because they were basically, we were voting on them they were voting on them in August, and we were voting at Gold Derby on them all along. So it feels like the Bear has sort of taken over in comedy, and Succession remains the show and the individuals to beat in drama. But surprises happen.
Daniel, what is your pick? Let's stay with drama. Do you think Last of Us or Succession or something else?
I think Succession still has this pretty easy. It's just a long victory lap. Nothing at Creative Arts, but the Last of Us is that kind of show that you'd expect to do well at Creative Arts because it's has so many effects and so many visual elements, so many technical elements behind that show. So Succession not winning a lot of crafts isn't necessarily surprising. So I still think when the writers and actors and potentially even directors get a hold of Succession, it's going to be win 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 win. Like if it wins fewer than 5, I'd be surprised. So I think it's still winning drama series.
Denton?
I would be shocked if Succession lost. I will also remember it's one thing to base your if you're making any last minute switches and it's based on the creative arts, that's one thing. Don't make any switches based on the Golden Globes. Some of the shows are in a different season.
Mhm.
Emmy voting happened in August, so it's one thing to base on creative arts, but make sure you're going in that direction. I still think Succession is easily going to take drama series, and I actually have The White Lotus in second. The Last of Us doesn't feel like a best drama series to me, and I don't understand why people seem to have forgotten how much Emmys love The White Lotus. I mean, it took home stacks of Emmys, so
Yeah, it won 10 for its first season, right?
right. So I don't understand why people just sort of like are throwing that away like it was nothing. I feel like The White Lotus is still in contention, and we don't know what that looks like in drama series. So I would be watching out for The White Lotus more than The Last of Us in drama series, in my opinion.
One thing that the most recent stuff at the Globes and SAG are convincing me is that maybe I'm going too all in for jury duty. I was picking James Marsden. I was picking it, as a major dark horse not to win, but you know, that it had an outside shot. Now I don't know, I'm feeling like backing off a little bit. I don't have quite the courage of my jury duty convictions anymore.
And let's move over to drama actress. And we have a lot of categories to talk about. So I think some will be easier than others. Do we all have Sarah Snook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's in second place, do we think? I have Carrie Russell in second place. She keeps getting in everywhere at all of these other ceremonies.
I've got Bella Ramsey in second. You know, The Last of Us did incredibly well in you know, in acting races and nominations. It won both of the guest acting races, including Storm Reed for an episode that also hugely featured Bella Ramsey. So
that is a
I'd say
good
she's
point.
second.
I have Bella in fourth. I definitely need to move her up after this chat. Ray, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna. I think I have Carrie Russell second, and you know, she's hugely respected in TV as a performer, and I feel like she hasn't quite gotten her due in terms of awards races. So I think she's got an outside shot. But any categories where we have Succession performers, the overwhelming odds are that it's going to be Succession, except maybe Jennifer Coolidge, who I still see as the one to beat especially after dancing on stage last year.
Drama actor is one of those categories where I can see a lot of different people predicting different contenders here. I have settled on Pedro Pascal for the time being, but I could really see Kieran Culkin pulling this off. It's the final season for Bob Odenkirk's Better Call Saul. Is anyone not picking Pedro, and why?
I'm picking Kieran, but just because he had such an amazing season. But I could easily be convinced to switch that to Brian Cox, and I feel like as a you know, as a farewell, and the fact that he just got nominated for a SAG award doesn't dissuade me from that view at all. I feel like you know, people may want to see Brian up there accepting an Emmy. It could just be that simple. That we want to see the old timer, you know, with maybe a little crotchety and maybe an axe or two to grind up there. They're grabbing his moment of glory.
Denton?
I have Pedro, but I mean, he's continued to be my losing horse over and over again. I mean, I just keep predicting him, and I predicted him for SNL. I predicted him at the Golden Globes. So I had this feeling like as soon as I move off him, then he will win, and I'll just be wrong again. So I'm staying with him, but. I won't be surprised if Kieran wins. I actually sort of want Kieran Culkin to win, even though it would hurt my score. So, but right now I'm just gonna stick with Pedro Pascal.
Right. Daniel, you have Pedro, right? You've had him for a long time.
Yeah, I've had him for most of this time. I you know, mostly on the theory of the Squid Game result, when Succession had three men in. Was it three men or was it just two at the time?
I think two.
Okay, and you know, and even with just two, Lee Jung-jae for Squid Game ended up winning there and winning at SAG, sort of splitting their votes in both places. So I've had Pedro Pascal for a long time. Like Denton, it hasn't worked out for me yet, but if I move off of him, and I would have been right by having him, that would crush me. So I'd rather be wrong with Pedro than wrong without him, certainly. And honestly, we all want Pedro Pascal to win this award because we want him to say "suck it, Kieran."
Yeah.
When he wins an award.
He has to say that.
That would be so much fun. And you know, it would be worth it for that. If Emmy voters knew that they might have a chance to get that moment when they voted in August, I think they would do that too.
And to Denton's point about Pedro always losing, eventually he will win. I mean, either this ceremony or another ceremony. So I like that theory, and so I'm gonna pick him at every show going forward. Okay, drama supporting actress. This is one where I'm going against the grain. Everyone at Gold Derby is predicting Jennifer Coolidge. No, 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 no. It's gonna be Ray Seahorn. She gave the best performance, possibly of the year, but certainly in this category. And Better Call Saul, it's up for its 53rd nomination. I believe that number is right. 53 nominations total. It's never won anything. It lost 2 last week at the Creative Arts. It has 5 more on Monday night. It's gonna win for Reyes Sehorn. This is going to be the win for Better Call Saul. I'm not even gonna hear anyone else's thoughts on this subject. We're gonna move on. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Ray.
You know, at some point you just have to feel like, okay, maybe they don't really love this show. You know, 53 nominations without a win. And could part of it could just be, breaking that people have had it with Breaking Bad, and that, it's been basically 10 years of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, or 12 years or whatever it is. I feel like Rhea would deserve it, and she did give the best performance, but since when is that the criterion? Whoever
It should be.
I know it should be. There are many things that should be true. I feel like, they've got, Jennifer sort of charms everyone. She's just, I feel like they want her up there giving an acceptance again. My dark horse is Aubrey Plaza, in terms of, another, I feel like she's still a coming star who's very soon going to be a superstar. But this is probably not her win year. I still think it's Jennifer. Dark horse could be Elizabeth Debicki. We already saw her win the Globe. Anything's probably, and she would deserve it too, almost as much as Rhea.
I think Elizabeth's year might be next year, because that would be for the final year of the crown, when Princess Diana dies. Okay, Denton, what do you think?
Spoiler alert.
Oh my God,
mean,
she's dead?
Jennifer Coolidge, the gays are trying to kill me, and she topples headfirst off a boat. I mean, that's all she needs to do. She's Jennifer Coolidge. I think she's just gonna win again.
Daniel.
Yeah, I think Jennifer Coolidge wins. The only thing that I think that would stop her is if Succession gets on one of those Crown or Schitt's Creek runs and just wins everything and brings J. Smith Cameron along.
That's true.
Yeah, she could be the sort of Annie Murphy here.
Drama supporting actor. This might be an easier category. We can go quickly. Matthew Macfadyen. Does anyone not have him? This is the category where it's 4 Succession guys versus 4 White Lotus guys. So HBO is going to win this one.
Yeah. Well, this is my point, though, that I think people are underestimating how loved the White Lotus is. I mean, when we're talking about Succession just swooping across the board, there is still this much love for the White Lotus. And I do have Matthew Macfadyen. I think the spoiler here, in my opinion, and I was calling him early to get in when a lot of people didn't have him being nominated at all, and that's Theo James. He's the MVP supporting actor for me in the White Lotus, and I think he's going to be the dark horse if Macfadyen loses, but I don't think that'll happen.
Daniel?
Yeah, I've got Matthew Macfadyen. I've actually got Succession in like the top 2 or 3 spots. I think Skarsgård is second in my list. The Emmys like him too. But yeah, it's one of those. This is an interesting category because it's like we don't have to worry about a vote split because someone's going to win in spite of a vote split because you've got 4 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, I don't think Macfadyen. I don't think Macfadyen's co-stars will take away too much support from him.
And Ray?
Yeah, I'm a Macfadyen guy too. And the Succession bandwagon is gonna be, a fierce thing to behold on Monday night. White Lotus does have a huge amount of love, as Denton says, and did incredibly well in its first season. But that was also arguably an easier category mix of TV movie limited. You know, it's now in the big leagues in drama series. So yeah, there's Theo James has a shot, but you know, I think and McFadden's got to have the inside track here.
And to all your points, I mean, the White Lotus just won 4 Creative Arts Emmys a few days ago, so it is still beloved, and including casting. It beat Succession, it beat The Last of Us, it beat Crown, so that was a big one.
Well, it's a new cast.
Yep.
People like it's a completely different cast. That's the same thing with The Bear. It was The Bear season 1. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's going to be jury duty." And I was like, "How can it be jury duty when you have all these nominated actors from The Bear
Wow,
that were cast?"
That's a good point. Okay, drama directing. This is one I changed after the Creative Arts, after The Last of Us wins, 8 awards. I didn't have it winning directing, but now I do. So I have The Last of Us in first place, and then I moved Mike White for the White Lotus down to second. And this is going to be possibly a vote split because we have 3 Succession episodes here in drama directing. So that's why I don't have it winning this category. Daniel, what about you?
I'm gonna contradict myself. I have it splitting the votes in a drama actor, but I have Succession winning this just because Connor's wedding was such a kind of momentous episode for the show. So I'm going with that one here, even with the vote split. A lot of times we see like if a show is on track to win, just like steamroll. In series, it sometimes just takes writing and directing.
Denton.
I have The Last of Us just because of that specific episode. It's that one with where Nick Offerman just won his Emmy. It's unlike the rest of the series. Really, it's much more sentimental and
No zombies.
yeah, I think yeah, I'm going with The Last of Us on this one. Although I would watch out for Arrivederci from The White Lotus, and Connor's Wedding, I do believe, like Daniel said, stands out from the other 2.
And Ray.
Yeah, I'm going with Connor's Wedding for Succession. I feel like it's got to be a Succession winner in this category. I mean, we just saw the DGA nominations, and Succession got 4 of the 5 for drama series. That kind of domination doesn't happen very often. So I feel like, okay, we get it. You really love this show. So I feel like it's got to get, even though there's going to be splitting among the nominees in the same category. I think Connor's Wedding is the strongest.
In drama writing, this is where I have Connor's Wedding winning for Succession. And, it's also the only Succession one here. Is it the only one they submitted for writing? I think it might be. On the ballot. I think they only had 1, so that's why there's not multiple episodes here. Ray,
Yeah, I'm going with Connor's
Connor.
Wedding again. I feel like it's a Connor's Wedding writing and drama sweep for the 2. It's an incredibly strong episode, and that's going to be reflected in the Emmys.
And Daniel and Denton, Connor's Wedding.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we're all gonna get that one right. But we'll see. Okay, comedy series. Now this, unlike drama series, this is really a race. Ted Lasso is my pick to win, but a lot of people at Gold Derby switched over to The Bear after The Bear won at the Creative Arts this weekend. I'm sticking with Ted Lasso because it's just the more the general public more loves Ted Lasso, and I feel like The Bear is more of a niche show. Again, this was season 1 we're talking about. Season 2 of The Bear is going to be a different story. Ray, what do you think?
I think the voters were voting season 2 for the season 1 episodes, and it was at the height of its season 2 mania when the voting happened. So I feel like fairly or unfairly, it's going to take it. I know I'm the last person on this train, but the fact that The Bear is going to probably win for comedy series, the ridiculousness of that is not lost on me. This is a show that has literally no laughs. So clearly the concept of comedy continues to evolve. away from my own taste level. I love The Bear. I just
Mhm.
don't love it as a comedy, but I think it's going to win.
Okay, Daniel.
I think Ted Lasso wins. Just looking at it did even better, I believe, in the nominations than it has in previous seasons, when it was getting 20 nominations a season. So it dominated the nominations. As Ray was saying, The Bear is, skews dramatic, to put it mildly. That usually doesn't matter in the acting races, but it does matter in the comedy series race. Historically, the dramatic skewing shows, even the ones with a lot of buzz, they don't win comedy series. Thinking about Desperate Housewives and Orange is the New Black, the year it competed as a comedy. Transparent never won Best Comedy Series. The only dramatic leaning comedy that won this was Ally McBeal, and that was decades ago. So, that makes me feel old. So I'm going with Ted Lasso here, just on the basis of all those nominations and the fact that it's much more definitively a comedy, and that seems to matter for comedy series.
Denton.
Yeah, the Emmys still love Ted Lasso, and it
Yep.
was proven by the nominations. And it's the comedy. It's allegedly the final season, and I think they'll send it home with a perfect record. I didn't pick it last year, and I'm not gonna
I
I'm not
I
gonna
didn't
go that
either.
I'm not gonna go that way again.
How many? I mean, we all three of us here are in LA, and the ground game for Ted Lasso. How many events did they have? How many parties did they have? And they were all sold out. Personally, I didn't get invited to the Bear event, so I don't know how many they had, but I know Ted Lasso went way overboard, and that kind of thing helps.
Including a
Okay,
Gold Derby event, as I recall.
yeah, that's right. Comedy actress. I have Quinta Brunson winning this, and I have Natasha Lyonne in second place. It's. I should mention that Ayo Edebiri will be in comedy actress next year for season 2, but for season 1 she will be down in supporting. Ray, what about you?
It's just my big upset pick. I'm picking Christina Applegate.
Okay.
Um, and the sentimental vote is going to help here. Just as it might help Jennifer Aniston in the SAG Awards, given the recent passing of Matthew Perry. I feel like Christina Applegate's, deteriorating condition from MS, plus the fact that she's, a great actress and in a beloved role in Dead to Me. I feel like it's gonna rise to the top this time. I think I know Quinta already won for writing, not for performing, but she's my dark horse this year. I have Rachel Brosnahan in second, and
Hmm.
Natasha Lyonne, who I think is mesmerizing, amazing actress in third.
And Denton, you've been on the Jenna Ortega train, haven't you?
No, for the Golden Globes, I was last year, and I feel like if she was going to win anything, that would have been it.
Yeah.
So the fact that she lost that, I'm actually going with Rachel Brosnahan, for her final
Yeah.
season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. That show has done consistently well, throughout the seasons, time and time again. It keeps holding on to nominations. It even won a couple Creative Arts this year. So this is to me a 5-horse race. And she's the only previous winner. I don't think there's a clear-cut front runner here. I mean, Jean Smart's missing. That's what, she was always the obvious choice. I think Judith Light winning last week gives Natasha Lyonne a bump. Like, people have actually watched the show and are watching Peacock now. So I think she could win. I think for the reasons Ray suggested, Christina Applegate could win. Quinta Brunson, she did win a Globe for her acting performance. So, but she already lost an Emmy. And then Jenna Ortega, for me, I actually have her in fifth place because just the nature of the series.
I do think this, before I go to Daniel, this I think could be Quinta's best shot ever of comedy actress, because next year Io will be in this category, and Jean Smart, I believe, is coming back for Hacks. So, I mean, this category is going to be impossible to win next year. So, do you have Quinta, Daniel?
I do, even though I feel like she's gonna lose, and that's so sort of weird. And it's because I can't decide who I would pick instead. You can make a case for Jenna Ortega, got all those nominations for Wednesday. She's carrying the show on her back. I have her in second place, not confidently. Christina Applegate could win from the sentiment from the final season of Dead to Me. Natasha Lyonne could win because we just saw Judith Light win at Creative Arts. Rachel Brosnahan could win, even though it would be unusual for a show, for her to win for the first season and then not win for the middle seasons and then come back and win for the last season. But in a race like this, with Maisel doing consistently well, we saw in the SAG nominations, which the voting took place much later, well after Maisel was done airing. It still got 2 nominations for its actors. She could win too, but because I can't decide, I'm picking the front runner just because it feels like the safest thing to do. I don't have a pick other than Quinta Brunson that I can make a strong enough case for.
And we know these episode submissions don't really matter anymore, but for what it's worth, Rachel Brosnahan's episode submission does have like this 4.5 minute stand-up monologue that sort of wraps everything together for you in a nice bow. And I think that series went out on a high note, and the Emmys do still appreciate Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Comedy actor. This is one where I have the Bear winning, Jeremy Allen White. I had Jason Sudeikis for a long time, but I feel like the Bear is going to win something big, and I don't have it winning series, so I do have Jeremy winning this. Ray, what about you?
Yeah, I have Jeremy. He's the it boy of the moment, and I think he still was even when voting was going on last summer. Um, you know, uh, he's a Calvin Klein underwear model, for crying out loud. How can you vote against that? Um, yeah, I think they've already honored Jason and Bill Hader. Although I feel like if there's a dark horse here, it's Hader. That there was, as we saw in the SAG nominees, still a lot of residual love for Barry and for Hader, and he could win completely. Aside from this, he could win his 4th DGA award this year after getting another nomination. So the guy's multi-talented, but I still think this is Jeremy Allen White.
And Daniel, as you said, comedies that skew drama, they don't win series, but they do win acting.
They do win acting. So I think Jeremy Allen White has this one. I think it's probably the strongest bet for the Bear on Primetime Emmy night. Although I think I have it winning a couple other awards too. But I think this one's the most secure. So I have Jason Sudeikis in second place just because he, again, it's the show is undefeated for comedy series. He's won twice in a row for best actor. So,
And Denton.
Has Jeremy Allen White lost anything for the Bear?
I don't think so.
So
no,
I'm
he
not
always wins.
gonna have him start that now. So yeah, I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, I think that's all the reason I need.
Comedy supporting actress, I really could make a case for the top 3 here. Hannah Waddingham, she won before. Sheryl Lee Ralph, she won in a huge surprise last year. And then Ayo Edebiri is coming on strong. I'm personally going with Hannah Waddingham just because of the final season Ted Lasso love. And she's a superstar. I mean, she has her own special on Apple, which the voters didn't see because they voted last summer. But still, I mean, she's everywhere. Let's start with Denton on this one.
This is the one that I just switched to Ayo, and I don't know if it was the right decision. I had Hannah because I was thinking, if I have Ted Lasso winning series, it has to win some sort of acting award, and I don't have it winning supporting actor, and maybe I want to switch there. These supporting categories have me stressed out. Alex Borstein just got nominated for a SAG award. So it's yeah, this is tough. Shirley Ralph's the defending champion. I don't know. I'm just going with Io because she's such a rising star, and
Mhm.
I don't like. Did she have the momentum by the time they were voting? I'm not sure.
That's what I'm wondering. And if I were a voter, I would vote for Jessica Williams Shrinking. She gave the funniest supporting actress performance of the year, but
I
I don't.
agree. She was fabulous. That show is underappreciated.
It is. But who do you have at number one?
I have Io. I'm sort of picking the bear across the board until, even though again this was voting last summer, until they start losing, I'm sticking with them. Um, although, yeah, I love Jessica Williams, and then yeah, there are a couple of directions this could go in. We do, Alex Borstein, Shirley Ralph, they've all won before. This is a very tough category, but I think Io is, kind of the it person of the moment, and I think she still was already last summer. This was still just in the wake of Bottoms having come out, and she was getting a lot of juice from that.
Juice from Bottoms. Okay, Daniel.
So to speak.
I've I've got Io winning this. I've had her since before nominations came out. It just a hunch that I've had. Though I do think it's her or Hannah. It's a tough choice between the two of them. I feel like surprisingly in the nominations, even though they got the same acting nominations, it feels like the bloom was off the rose for Abbott Elementary. So I don't necessarily see Shirley Ralph as the kind of person who repeats there, given how the show kind of plateaued in the nominations. And Io is in the show that has a ton of support, a ton of acting support. She didn't, again, if voting happened in December, I'd say she's a lock for this. Less so in August. But as Ray has said, voters did see, or at least they would have had a chance to see The Bear season 2 by the time they voted for these awards in August. So I think that might be enough time for them to realize how dynamic and strong this performance is.
Comedy supporting actor. This is another really tough one. I had Anthony Carrigan forever, and then I realized, he's probably just my hope diction. I don't know if he has the support that I would want him to have. So I switched to James Marsden for Jury Duty. I mean, he plays himself, and it's very rare for an actor to win an award for playing themselves, but he does it in such a way that you just want to hug him. It's so endearing. And Jury Duty didn't do too well at the Critics' Choice Award. Sorry, at the Creative Arts Emmys last weekend, but he could be the one major award that this show gets. And Ray, I saw you nodding.
Yeah, I have James Marsden too. And I've been given pause a little bit because, it didn't do well at the Creative Arts, and he wasn't nominated for a SAG award. Boy, this I think is maybe the toughest race in all the Emmys. This could go in 5 or 6 different directions. I could make a case for Brett Goldstein, for Eben Moss-Bachrach, for Tyler James Williams, for Henry Winkler, for Phil Dunster, any one of them. I have James Marsden almost by default, just because this was such a difficult playing himself role, such a great improvisational, heavyweight performance, and I feel like it's that alone should make it stand out among a huge number of charismatic performances from the other nominees.
It's also funny. It's the funniest of these gentlemen.
Oh yeah, and absolutely the most difficult. He had to stay in character for weeks. So I'm sticking with Marsden for the moment. This is the one place where I'm passing over the bear. I feel like Eben Moss-Bachrach is going to win for season 2, but not for season 1.
Daniel.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Eben's year is going to be next year, or this year, later this year. So I've got James Marsden. It just feels like there's so much love for Jury Duty in the nominations, and it didn't do well at Creative Arts, but it only had the one nomination at Creative Arts. So I don't think that was necessarily the death knell for the whole show. And I think for people who love the show, James Marsden is going to focus a lot of support for it. Although, this could be one of those situations where I'm just overthinking this and Brett Goldstein just Jeremy Pivens this and wins 3 for 3.
Wow.
So I've got him in second and Evan in third. But I also agree with Ray that this is one of the toughest categories that could go 5 or 6 different directions.
Denton?
Yeah, I have James in first, but I'm very uneasy about it. And I might actually switch to Brett Goldstein because I don't have Ted Lasso winning an acting award. And he did win 2 in a row. Last year, everyone was predicting Tyler James Williams. It was his Emmy to lose, and then Brett Goldstein came back and won his 2nd in a row. So I don't see an issue where he could potentially win a 3rd in a row. And you could make that argument for Jason Sudeikis, but there's not a Jeremy Allen White in this category. There's not someone that's been steamrolling every awards show. And I don't know. Part of me thinks I might switch over to Brett Goldstein for Ted Lasso.
It could happen. Okay, comedy directing. Unlike drama directing, where Succession has 3, there is no vote split here in comedy directing. I have The Bear. Ted Lasso is also up for its finale. Wednesday is up for Tim Burton. Barry is up for Bill Hader. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for the series finale, and then the Miss Pat show. I mean, you could make a case for a couple of them here, but I'm Daniel, you're going with The Bear as well, right? Why is that?
Yeah, I've been going with Bear the whole time. It feels the most uh, uh, it feels the most directed. Like this episode especially is so fast paced, is so frenetic. Review is the episode it's nominated for. I just feel like it's a lot showier. And given how much the voters love the show in general, and again, dramedies do well in this category. Transparent won this, I believe. I feel like this is going to be review.
Denton?
I'm going with Ted Lasso. I think this is another one that people underestimated Ted Lasso last year. And I think it's going to be a big night for Ted Lasso. I think it's the final season, and a lot of people are underestimating it. A lot of people underestimated it last year, and I'm going big with Ted Lasso this year.
And look at that title, So Long Farewell. Titles really do matter, especially in some of these smaller categories like writing and directing. Ray?
Yeah, the Ted Lasso episode, their finale, Declan Lowney, who I interviewed, did a wonderful job on it. But I'm still picking the Bear review because, in part from what Daniel said, it's very showy. It's basically it's one continuous shot, one take, 18 minutes worth of shot, and for that reason alone, I mean, it held together beautifully as a single take, intense episode. And I feel like that's going to be irresistible to voters to be able to honor that kind of enterprise and that kind of originality.
I think you just convinced me that the Bear is winning that one. Okay, comedy writing. This is where I have Ted Lasso winning for So Long Farewell. The Bear is up for a different episode, System. Is that the finale?
I think that's the pilot.
Okay. And then
Yeah, it is.
You have Jury Duty, Barry, Only Murders, and the other 2. There was a lot of other 2 fans who were so happy to see this nomination. Okay, let's start with Denton.
Yeah, Ted Lasso again. The Bear could win. I really feel like that's the only other option here, in my opinion. But the other 2 is the win was being nominated here.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I'm gonna go with Ted Lasso.
And Daniel?
Ted Lasso. I think this is where this is actually, I think this is the only category I have it winning besides best comedy series. This is where I think it wins something else.
And Ray?
I was going with the Bear, but I'm switching to Ted Lasso also. I think that it's going to win something, and the writing for the finale seems like the right place to honor it. And I think voters will agree with that.
And by the way, I just double checked. Ted Lasso did not win writing for season 1 or for season 2. It lost to Hacks and then it lost to Abbott Elementary. So this would be the first writing win for Ted Lasso.
And it
It's
deserves
lucky
that.
those two shows are out of the way
Mm-hmm. Okay,
for
so
this category at least.
limited series. Do we all have beef? I feel like these ones we can go a little bit fast.
The beef trio. I mean, there's three
Yeah.
beefs. Does anyone not have beef for actress and actor?
Stephen Yeun and Ali Wong.
I
You
have
know,
them both.
I might make an argument for Evan Peters in actor.
That could happen. Yeah.
You know, that's the one possible fly in the ointment for a Bear sweep. As far as I'm concerned, I go back and forth between Yun and Peters, and you know, and Daniel Radcliffe has a lot of love too. And there's an outside shot for him for
Evan
Ali
Peters.
Yankovic.
I'm just looking. Evan Peters is leading our odds,
Oh, okay.
which is interesting because I just didn't think that was the case. I didn't. I guess I hadn't noticed. But yeah,
It could definitely happen. And then you mentioned Daniel Radcliffe. Weird just won Best TV Movie a few days ago, so we know they like that. And then actress Ali Wong, but I have Jessica Chastain in second. It's possible. She won the SAG award, didn't she?
Yeah. So I do think Jessica Chastain is possible, but I feel like she's a safer lead acting winner than Stephen Yeun, just because Evan Peters was so, seemed so strong in that role too.
And then we have the supporting actress, supporting actor. And again, I don't know how much time we have to spend on these. Do we all have Niecy Nash-Betts and Paul Walter Hauser?
I do.
we do. Although I would say Paul Walter Hauser, that his nomination always makes me laugh because feels like it was like 3 years ago. Because it was so early in the season already. And then didn't this come out in like the end of 2021 or something like that?
Well, Ray Liotta is nominated, and when
Oh.
did he had to die a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I have young Mazzino. He could maybe spoil.
Oh yeah. I loved him in Beef.
Spoiler. And Richard Jenkins was great. But
Right. I actually ran into Paul Walter Hauser in the bathroom at an Apple party last week. And he was very, very nice, very, very chatty. I think he's excited for this Emmy show to finally happen. Okay, movie limited directing. This is where we have an interesting vote split potential. 2 Beef episodes, 2 Dahmer episodes, and then Prey and Fleischman. What are we all doing here? I am putting Dahmer up front for the episode Silenced, just because that was such a unique, different episode with all the sign language. Denton, what about you?
I actually have that as well. And that's what Netflix is really pushing. It's directed by Paris Barclay, who's a very respected director in the TV industry. So I think that is Monster's best shot other than Niecy at winning something. And I also look out for Fleischman because that's sort of been a surprise, and it's here alone. So
Okay. Daniel?
I'm going with Beef, with Fleischman in second and Monster, the Silenced episode, in third. Fleischman, this being its only nomination. We've seen that happen before, where the limited series that gets the one directing bid ends up winning it. But I think Beef is strong enough that I think it can overcome the vote split and get it for Figures of Light.
And Ray.
Yeah, I'm going with Silenced, the Monster episode.
Okay.
And even with all the splitting, just because that was a particularly strong episode that I thought was beautifully directed. But this could go in a number of different directions. And yeah, if Beef has a bandwagon big sweep, it'll probably win one of these two also.
And speaking of these two, writing, there is no Monster Jeffrey Dahmer story, which is little bit unusual, but that just proves to me that Beef is even stronger in this category than it would have been. Daniel, what about you?
Yeah, Beef I think wins this pretty easily. There's no vote split for it here, so I think it's relatively safe.
Ray?
Yeah, Beef most likely, but I have Fleischman in second, and there's a lot of love for Taffy Brodesser-Akner, who wrote the original novel and adapted it, and directed it for this, did a lot of the directing too for the screen. So I feel like that's a dark horse, but probably Beef.
All right, Denton?
Yeah, I agree. I think Beef is a clear front runner here, and Fleischman's probably in second, but I have Swarm just for my own, just because I loved it so much. It was my favorite.
Mm-hmm. And there's 5 other categories. We could just list off real quick who we think. Competition. Right now I have Survivor, but I'm going to switch to RuPaul. That was just a Hope Diction. I'm going to switch to RuPaul's Drag Race. Does everyone else think so?
Yeah.
RuPaul.
Yeah.
Even though it lost last year in a huge shocker. Okay, Variety Talk Series. I have the problem with Jon Stewart. Anyone have something else?
I've got Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Not for any strong reason. Like with Last Week Tonight with John Oliver out of this category, it's so hard to tell. But I don't think the problem has generated as much love from the Television Academy.
No, I have Colbert also.
Denton?
I have Jon Stewart, but he didn't get some of those other nominations that the others did. Did he? Like, wasn't this the only nomination? Then like Colbert got directing, and some of the creative arts just didn't go this way. So I might switch to Colbert.
Okay. I'm looking now. The problem with Jon Stewart got directing,
Okay.
but not writing.
Not writing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Variety Scripted. This is where, John Oliver has to now go against Saturday Night Live and Black Lady Sketch Show. I think he could do it. I have Last Week Tonight at #1.
I do too. It's not Saturday Night Live's strongest season. So I'm gonna go with Last Week Tonight.
Daniel, Ray.
Yeah, I think Last Week Tonight wins this. It always beats Saturday Night Live for writing, so I think it'll win head to head too.
I have SNL right now, but you just talked me into changing to John Oliver because I was going back and forth.
I remember last year SNL, it lost directing, right, to Black Lady Sketch Show, and everyone's like, oh, SNL is gonna lose series, and it actually won series. Am I remembering correctly?
Yeah, you're right.
A lot's happened in this past year. Okay, Variety Special Live. I have Elton John live, Farewell from Dodger Stadium.
And this will be his EGOT. This would put Elton John in that EGOT status. So he really needs this.
Yeah, we need an article ready to go then if that's gonna happen. Ray, Daniel?
Yeah, I have Elton John. Not confident. I think the Super Bowl halftime show could also win it.
Yeah, it won a few.
Yeah, it won directing
Didn't it win last year?
I think so.
After it had lost many times, it won last year.
And Ray?
I actually had the Tony Awards because I thought that remember how challenged it was to try to do a show without writers. And I just thought that was an interesting experiment in attempting to they pulled it off pretty well with the blessing of WGA. So I thought let's get
I think that's the Tonys for next year. That's yeah, because I think the Tonys were in June. It's very confusing because of how the Emmy calendar lined up.
I knew that would happen, where I would start conflating.
You know what though? The Tonys are always great. It's always one of the best award shows. No matter like what year it's been, it's always one of the best shows they put together. Whether you are able to see the Broadway shows in New York or not, they always make it easy to watch.
That's right. So I'm judging next year's Tonys this year.
But Emmy voters might be doing the same thing again, because they would have seen this year's Tonys or the 2023 Tonys by the time they voted for.
In the final category, variety series writing. This is one that was going to be on the Creative Arts, but they moved it kind of at the last second. They moved it to the Primetime. Somebody mentioned John Oliver wins this a lot, right? So I'm going with John Oliver.
He's won it like 6 or 7 times, I think. Yeah, I'm going with John Oliver.
John Oliver.
Yeah, same.
Okay, well, if you've made it to the end of this video, we thank you very much for watching us. Guys, do you have any final thoughts? Anything you're looking forward to? Anthony Anderson will be the host on Fox.
Well, I just want to say that I was hoping that they would postpone the Emmys a little longer so we could actually have the 2023 show in 2025. But if we have to have it, I guess Monday's as good a night as any.
Or they could have just made one long awards show and given 2 awards for 2 years at the same ceremony.
Daniel, any final thoughts?
No, I'm just hoping that, like, I want my predictions to be correct as always, but I also don't want these Emmy winners to feel like they're just like ancient by the time they happen, because not only are these awards delayed, but they will happen after the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice Awards, where so we'll probably see a lot of the same winners. So I hope it still feels somewhat fresh.
Mm-hmm. And Denton?
No, it'll be fun, and we'll be out on the red carpet, so tune into our coverage on Monday, and Ray will be back in the press room. We'll have
Yes, I will.
lots of
I will
videos.
be recording all those interviews.
Yeah, so we'll have lots of videos going up, and we'll have articles and coverage on the website, so tune in for all of that.
Niecy Nash will make me the happiest. I can't wait for that to happen. Thank you everyone for watching, and go make your predictions if you haven't for the Emmys and for the Oscars and SAG Awards. Critics' Choice Awards are on Sunday. So thanks for watching.